Now that you've mastered the basics of HTML, let's bring your web pages to life. I'm here to help you dive into the world of JavaScript. Welcome back, everyone! If you haven't checked out our HTML tutorial, I recommend watching that first to get the groundwork laid out. Today, we're jumping into JavaScript, the language that makes your web pages interactive. Let's get started! JavaScript, often abbreviated as JS, is a scripting language that enables you to create dynamically updating content, control multimedia, animate images, and pretty much everything else. It's what breathes life into your static HTML and CSS pages, turning them into rich, interactive experiences on the web. To start writing JavaScript, all you need is a web browser and a simple text editor, just like the last video. You can write JavaScript code right inside your HTML files using the script tag, which I'll show you in just a moment. Inside your HTML file, go to the bottom of it, just before the body tag, and type script. We'll also need to close this script, just like we have done before with the divs. Let's write a hello world in JavaScript. What this hello world is going to do is when I open my page, I will display an alert saying hello world. We just write alert, open quotes, hello world, close quotes, and hit save, reload the page. Hello world, this is our alert. Variables are containers for storing data values. In JavaScript, we can create a value using the var, let, or const keyword. Let's see how it works in code. We have the let variable, the const type of variable, and the var type of variable. Nobody uses var type of variable anymore because it's considered unsafe. What's the difference between let and const? Const stands for constant, so it's a constant, and let is just a variable. Let and var are changeable. That means that you can change the value of a let variable, and const is not. You cannot change what's inside the const variable. Let's try with a let variable and a var variable. If I try to refresh my page and press F12, you can open the inspector from your browser and hit console. So you can see that there is no error here. If I try it with a const variable and try to refresh my page, I will see uncaught type error invalid assignment to const variable. So basically, you are going to use let when you want to change the value of that variable through the code, and you're going to use const when you don't want to change. JavaScript is considered a weak typing language. This means that JavaScript has no types. So basically, this let variable is a number here, and it can be a string here. Then it can also be an array or a boolean here that JavaScript will not complain about it. You can perform operations in JavaScript, adding numbers or concatenating strings, multiplication, basically every kind of math. So let's try something simple here. Let's add two numbers and display a message saying the result is... So first we need to declare two variables, x and y. Then we're going to declare a variable that will contain the string the result is and the result of the sum. Notice that I can concatenate strings and numbers using the plus sign. There are other ways, more modern ways, but this is the basic form. Notice also that I have wrapped in parentheses these two numbers, and I'm gonna show you why. Then let's use what we learned and display an alert. To display a variable in an alert, we just type the name of the variable inside the parentheses. Let's try it out. Cool, the result is 15. And if I remove this parenthesis, what's gonna happen is that it's not gonna display 15, it's gonna display 510. Because if I do this way, when I concatenate a string with a number, it will interpret x as a string. Because of a logical sequence, I am concatenating the result is plus x, then plus y. If I concatenate a string and a number, the number starts to be part of the string. So it's a string now, and then I will concatenate y. Okay, so when I put parentheses, when I wrap it with parentheses, I am saying that, oh, do this operation first, then you concatenate what's inside the string with the result of this operation. Now, we're going to the most advanced part of JavaScript. There are the functions. Functions are one of the core concepts in JavaScript, and Actually, in most of the languages, they allow you to write reusable code. Let's do an example. To declare a function, I go inside my TypeScript and I type function, the name of the function. In this case, we're gonna say it's greet. And then we open parentheses. And inside the parentheses, we can add arguments that will be used inside the function. So in this case, I want to greet to someone. So I'm going to call this argument name. Then we're going to open brackets. And then we're going to do whatever we want inside this function. In this case, we're going to display an alert with hello, comma, name. Let's do it. This is our function. Then we have to close the bracket. Now, what we can do is, every time we need to greet someone with an alert, instead of writing alert hello plus name, we can just call greet name, like this. Let's try it out. See, hello Alice. Notice that if you remove this call to the function, you won't display anything because you need to call a function so it can be executed. Now, in JavaScript, we can also interact with HTML elements. And this is the purpose of JS, make your website dynamic. Well, we have a global variable in JavaScript called document that refers to the whole document. So if you write in the console of your browser document, you can see that the document, we have some utility functions like get element by ID, by class name, by name, by tag name, and by tag name NS. Okay, so we're gonna use the get element by ID to get an element that we know the ID. Okay, so in this case, we have the title. And if I type here, I can grab the title element. And this is how we're going to interact. Cool, so let's put everything we learned together. When I click in this column, I want to display the name of the column somewhere. I'm gonna choose below this subtitle. And also I want something to indicate that I select this column. And when I click the same column, I want to deselect this column. And when I click in column 2, I want to deselect the column 1 and replace for column 2, and also change the name of the column that will display it here. Let's start. First, I'm gonna choose below this subtitle and define here a div with a new tag that is the span. And I'm gonna display last clicked inside one tag and open another tag with an ID called last click with none inside. Next thing, we're gonna check a property of every HTML element that they have that is called onClick. What onClick does is when I click on this element that is using an onClick property, something will be executed. And how we define it, we place an equal sign and call something. In this case, I will call our function that is called clicked@, receive 2 arguments instead of 1. And to send 2 arguments to a function, you just set the first one and hit a comma, and then you put the other. Notice that I'm using this here. That this word is a reserved word in JavaScript. We're not going to details, but this means that I'm sending this whole element to the function. So I'm gonna call it in all of our 3 columns. Now let's start implementing our function, because if I try to do something now, it's gonna throw an error. Reference error clicked@ is not defined because we have not defined in our function. First, I'm gonna declare a new variable called EL, that's short for element, in which I'm gonna get my element by ID, last click. Then I'm gonna create a let variable selected column that will represent the last clicked column. And I'm gonna set that null. Then I'm gonna save my initial background color, because we're gonna change the background to represent that the column was selected. Then function name, arguments, then open and close brackets. First thing we're going to do is create the deselect function. So we're gonna use a statement called if. If is a statement that means if selected column exists, it's defined, and selected column is equal to the current element, we're gonna deselect it. So how do we deselect it? It's just a matter of setting the background color to the initial color and removing the text of the element we caught here to none, that is the original text. Then we're gonna reset the selected column, because we are deselecting. When you click on the same element twice, we're selecting it and then selecting none, so it's null. Then we end the function. Return means exit the function. Then we have an else that is a companion of the if statement. If some condition, then do. Else, if that condition is not true, then do another thing. And in this case, we have an else if that is the same thing. And here, what we're gonna do is, if the selected column is not equal to the column, but a selected column is still exists, then we are going to deselect the previous column. Otherwise, when we click column 1 and column 2, both will be marked as selected. Then we do the selection. The selection is easier. We get this element, then change the inner text, and then we set the column name that we send in the element. Then we put a visual indicator that the column X is selected, changing the background color. Then we set the selected column as the current column. And we hit save, reload the page. If I click the column 1, it should change the background color and say, let's click it column 1 here. Let's try it out. Column 1 and the background color is changed. If I select the column 2, it should show column 2 here and the background of this column should return to the original. Cool. If I click column 3, if I click column 1 again, it should deselect and show none here. Everything is working. And that's a wrap for the basics of JavaScript. You have just scratched the surface of what's possible with this powerful language. Keep experimenting with what you have learned today and don't hesitate to dive deeper into more complex topics like events, arrays, objects. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell button to not miss any updates. Thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.